This is a demonstration to give you an overview of how you can send electronic transactions to your customers as well as your vendors. Now in this example, what we're going to do this in a quotes, and we're going to do this for two reasons. Number one, that quotes actually have an additional process that allows you to get online approval, letting your customer approve that quote online in addition to just downloading it. The other reason we're going to do this in quotes is because it's the only module that's available in every single Mothernode edition across the CRM editions and also the ERP. So what we're going to do here is that we'll take a look at this, and if you wanted to do this in other editions, this it's also available, just to let you know, in the orders. It's available in invoices, so you can send invoices electronically to your customers. You can also send purchase orders electronically to your vendors, and so on and so forth. The functionality is relatively the same, again, with quotes being the only one that allows you to do the online approval. So we're going to go over here, we're going to take a look at this one, or this is going to be quote 132. And in 132, what we're looking at is we're sending a quote out here. We're going to send a quote here for a bicycle, and we'd like to get the customer to approve it. So we're going to take a look at a couple of different angles to this. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click the send at the top. We're happy with the way the quote looks. And by the way, just so you know, you see it up front what it is we're going to be sending. I can print this as a PDF. And when I print it as a PDF, you can see this is what my quote looks like. And of course, I have joining terms and conditions. This is just a credit card form I happen to slap on the back of this just to show you that if you have any additional terms and conditions or forms that you want to add to your quotes, you can do that as well. So in this specific case, I'm going to close that and I'm going to go back to the send option. So now I'm looking at the send button here, and I can send any one of the templates that I have. In this case, the quote is what we just saw, and that's what I'm going to send the customer. So I'm going to click the send button. And what's going to happen here is that my email is going to open up, my little application email. My signature is down below here. And I can author an email, which makes it easy. But what I'd also like to do is I can make these templates. So I've made one for quotes, and I can just insert this text that basically is helping me fast track my process for just creating an email. So I'm telling my customer or my prospective buyer that this is what the quote's about. Here's some instructions to follow, and we will look forward to earning your business. So a couple of other things about this is that you'll notice here within the actual quote itself, it gives me a link to download. If I don't want to use this for whatever reason, I just want to click on this link. It'll take me to the download screen that allows me to view the quote and also download the activity. We're going to look at that from the customer's perspective in a moment. The only other thing that's different about the quote itself is down below there's a require signature and approval. So we're going to do that in the second demonstration here just to show you what it's like to approve the document online. So right now we're just sending them something to download. So I'm happy with this, and I'm going to click send. Okay, so we're off and we're sending. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull up my demonstration email account here, and I'm going to wait for this email to come through, incoming right here, and we can see Mothernode email message to come through here. Okay, so at the top what you're seeing here is that it's presenting our company name, okay, and then basically I'm seeing that this is the quote reference and the quote number, etc., and the customer over here is going to click on the link to go ahead and download that, and of course you see my email with my signature down below. Alright, before I go ahead and do that, let me go ahead and show you something else here that has to do with this activity. So I'm going to click on this tab here, the sent files, to refresh this. Now you're going to see a little 1 there. So what this is doing, this is now registering the email that was sent to the customer, in this case David Waters, and we can see that the status is pending. This means that David has received it, or he hasn't looked at it yet. We just see status is pending. No activity has happened with this email. Another important thing about this is over here there's a details tab, and it's gray. So as long as there's gray, it's an indication that nothing has happened yet. So when I click on this here, I'm not getting any views, I'm not getting any downloads. Okay, so we'll come back to that in just a moment. Now I'm going to go back to my email that I have here, and I'm going to click on, as the customer would, I would click on this download link. So the first thing we're going to notice is this. Their browser will open up, and then they'll see that it's been prepared by the company that's sending it to them. This is your logo over here, and of course this is the person that prepared this information right here. And he has this over here with a little, this is the avatar that you have within your company profile. And you can see over here, I can click on the pages to preview that I have all of the different items that I'm looking at here, okay, plus the little plus and minus, so I can zoom in if I need to, if it's a little bit more difficult to see depending on what I'm looking at. So I have this capability here, and then down below I have the download. Now I'm not going to download it yet because now I want to go back to my experience over here, and I'm going to click on the sent files again, and now we're going to see the status is going to change to viewed to 1 times, plus my blue details box now includes information. So this shows now when the person viewed it, and the IP address that's in here is actually stamped in there because we're not asking for the person to authenticate and sign in there, but the IP address is now going to give us an indication that it wasn't somebody in our office. It's not our IP address that downloaded this, so we know that's basically the customers. And you can get your IP address over here in the admin module underneath the session activities and whatnot, or you can also ask your local admin what your IP may be. Okay, so basically we can see that it was viewed 1 time. Okay, now very important, let's also take a look at this too. I'm going to go back over here, I'm going to open the show item. Okay, so now in my list of all my quotes, I'm just going to go over here back to my quotes, and you can see here now that this has been sent. Okay, so what we're going to go back is, and I'm going to waste time in here, but what we're going to do is, at least in the list there, now you can see that there's, within the listing, you can see there's different activities and states that have taken place. And now what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to go back to my email that I received, and I'm going to click on the link to download it. Okay, so what's going to happen here is that my view count is going to go up to 2. Okay, plus now in this case what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit download the file. So when I download the file, what it'll do here is it'll give me this in my regular format, and I can go ahead and I can click download in Chrome and so on. I'm going to grab all that information. Now more importantly, what's happening back in this folder, okay, you can see here the last thing we had was viewed. Now I'm going to click on the sent just to refresh this list again. Okay, now we can see that it was downloaded. Okay, and when it was downloaded, so it shows us the latest status, but more importantly, underneath here, the different views that I had that have registered here, plus the download. Okay, so just a real little hint here about this is that this is a great way to gauge your customer's interest, and it's also a great way to know whether or not they've actually received the quote, because if these are empty and you've sent something to them, then this means that they have not viewed anything that you have sent them. They've never clicked on that original link to even look at it. Okay, so this is a great way for you to help gauge your customer's interest in your activity, as well as to see whether or not they've shared this with other people in the organization, because you might see a different IP address and so on. Okay, so some things to look at there. So that is basically the same process that's used when you're sending invoices or you're sending purchase orders and so on and so forth. Okay, you can see when I go back over here to the list, all right, now it shows me that this is downloaded. I have these different icons, and as I mouse over them, you know, it tells me basically what I'm trying to accomplish here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back and I'm going to sort of append to this process. I'm going to go back to the sent files over here, and then we're going to send another message. So every time I send a message, this line item here is being referenced. Okay. One thing to note is that if I've sent a quote to somebody, or any transaction for that matter, and there's an imperfection or a mistake on it, and there's something I need to make sure that they don't have access to, just click the expire button. Okay, the expire button will make that link null and void, so when they click on the link, they will not be able to. It'll say session is expired, this document's not available, and so on and so forth. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I want to go back and I want to send this quote again, but this time for approval. Okay, so we're going to go through the same process. I'll do the exact same steps that I had before. What I'm going to do over here, I'm going to click quotes, and I'll choose the template to be approved. I'll just make sure that this text is going to be appearing here, and I'll click insert. Okay, so I'm going to insert that text here. All right, and then down below you can see my signature and so on and so forth. I can type that up if I want to right here. And of course, if I want to do freeform text, as usual, I have that opportunity. Now, the only difference is that you can see here, link to download the file, and this is basically saying the download link as I explained earlier. Now what we want to do is we want to require this for approval online. We want to let the customer go ahead and approve this online. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click require signature and approval. Do this, and now you can see the link is changed as well, okay, plus the verbiage. So if you use this link in another form to give to the customer, they'll have the same experience as what we'll see when we receive that in an email. So let me go ahead and send this. I'm going to send this off right here. All right, now I'm going to click sent files, and I'll have another item in the list. Now you can see this one has no activity. We're back to pending over here. This is now gray instead of blue, so I have no items here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my new email that I received, and you can see that it looks similar, but it says review and approve. Okay, so I have my information here. Often what I encourage people to do is put in some instructions of what you want the customer to do at that point. Please go ahead and review the document online. If you agree with this and you want to move forward, then go ahead and approve it, and we're all good to go. So let's go through that experience. I'll click on this. It's now going to open up in a new window over here, a little new tab that's coming up. And it's much like what we saw before, where we have all the same features and capabilities. But down below, I have the opportunity here to download that file as I did originally, but now I also have the opportunity to sign and approve. So when I click on the sign and approve, there's a couple of things I can do here. I can either type my name or I can draw it. So let's go through the process of assuming that this may be done on an iPad or an iPhone, and we'll go ahead and pretend that this mouse is my finger. But what we want to do first of all is we want to put our name. Okay, so I'm going to put that here. And as I use the typing tool, of course, it's mimicking a signature down below with something that's a little bit legible in a font that can be used here, okay? Then what I'd like to do is, now I'm going to put in my email address over here. So this is where, I want to get a confirmation on this. And then what I can do is, like I was saying, I can also draw this. So assuming this was my finger, I can draw this online as well. Just put this information in here, whatever that may be, and then it's my great signature, okay? And then I can say sign and approve. I can clear this to redo this again, or I can cancel. So I'm ready to sign and approve. I agree with this, and I click sign and approve. And then what will happen is that I will get a confirmation. So this is my confirmation that's sent here, and I also have the ability to download this. There is some custom text that you can put in here in the admin section, so you can flavor this up a little bit, make it a little bit more personal. Talk about next steps in your organization as to now that they've signed it, what can they expect, and so on. And whatever you end up authoring here as well will also be available in that email. So speaking of the email, we heard one ding come through, and now this is my electronic approval with the exact same information. This is for my files. So when I click on this, the download the signed PDF, you'll see over here that I'm getting now the PDF that was sent to me that I have signed. So my digital signature along with the date and so on and so forth is appearing right here. Okay, so that's great. So now let's go back over here to the quotes, and we'll click on the Sent Files tab again, and now we'll see more activity, and this one has now been downloaded and approved. Okay, and you can see the different activity, of course, that we saw there for this specific transaction, as we saw earlier with the downloads. And of course, the document, the session type over here is recorded. Okay, so we can see this one's approval, this one's downloaded. And when I click on this, again, I have the exact same experience that the customer has, where their signed quote is now on file with the actual quote itself. And of course, this is always available over here underneath the sent log again, so I can see all the latest activity and have access to that information right there. So this is a really great way to be expeditious with communicating your transactions to your customers and automating some of that process along the way.